Hey everyone, in this video looking at spectacles, focusing specifically on Act 2. So Act 2 is known as the cracks in the facade. What happens? The interrogation moves to Gerald Croft. Under pressure from the inspector and a sharp-eyed Sheila, Gerald admits he had an affair with Eva Smith, who was then calling herself Daisy Renton. He met her at the Palace Variety Theatre, a known haunt for women of the town, and kept her as his mistress in a friend's apartment. After Gerald leaves, the inspector turns to Mrs. Birling. It is revealed that Eva, Daisy, pregnant and desperate, went to Mrs. Birling's Bromley Women's Charity Organisation for help. Sybil Birling used her influence to deny the girl any aid because Eva used the name Mrs. Birling out of desperation, which Sybil found impertinent. Key characters in this act are Gerald Croft, who is known as a bridge character. He represents the hypocrisy of the upper class, and he saved Daisy but ultimately discarded her. Sybil Birling is the unrepentant aristocrat. She represents class prejudice. Sheila Birling becomes the assistant inspector as she watches her family with newfound horror. The key theme is hypocrisy versus integrity. Act 2 exposes the double standard of the Edwardian era. The Birlings pretend to be polite society, but Gerald is a serial adulterer and Sybil is a cold-hearted gatekeeper of charity. Quote 1 shows a protective barrier. So we have, you mustn't try to build up a kind of wall between us and that girl. If you do, then the inspector will just break it down, shows Sheila to her mother. The analysis, so the wall is a metaphor for the class divide. Sheila realises that the more they try to distance themselves from Eva, the more painful the revelation will be. The grade 9 link. This shows Sheila's transition into the inspector's mouthpiece. She understands the omniscience of the inspector. He already knows everything, he's just waiting for them to confess. Quote 2 is the arrogance of charity. So we have the quote, I did nothing I'm ashamed of. I used my influence to have it rejected, and this was said by Miss Birling. So Mrs. Birling views charity as a tool of power, not empathy. The noun influence highlights how the wealthy control the very survival of the poor. Grade 9 link. Sybil represents the failure of the voluntary system of 1912. Priestley is arguing that the poor should not rely on the whims of the rich. In the context, this led to the creation of the welfare state in 1945. Quote 3 is the trap showing the dramatic irony. So we have the quote, I blame the young man who was the father of the child. He ought to be dealt with very severely. And this was said by Mrs. Birling. This is the peak of dramatic irony. Sybil is unknowingly condemning her own son, Eric. And the grade 9 link, Priestley uses this to show that the older generation is blinded by their own prejudice. They are so eager to blame the lower classes or reckless youths that they cannot see the rot within their own home. Context link, the Palace Variety Theatre. Gerald meets Daisy at a theatre known for prostitution. Priestley's intent, by placing a respectable man like Gerald in such a place, Priestley critiques the Edwardian gentleman. Society looked the other way when wealthy men exploited poor women, as long as it was kept discreet. Gerald isn't a villain, but he's a predator wrapped in a tuxedo. The revision checklist, so quotes memorized for Act 2. We have public men, Mr. Birling, have responsibilities as well as privileges. This is the inspector's core message. Then we have, I'm rather more upset by this business than I probably appear to be, which is Gerald's moment of genuine emotion. Then we have, she was lonely and I became at once the most important person in her life, showing Gerald's hero complex. And then we have, go and look for the father of the child, it's his responsibility, which was Mrs. Birling's final mistake.